YouTubers, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the hot lead zone. And what the Lee 6-cavity mold instructions don't tell you is what do you do to keep having problems with this sprue cutter handle breaking off. Because this is a cam right here that gives you mechanical advantage to cut the sprue and allow you to drop your bullets. But what a lot of casters have reported is that this can snap off in use. So here is the actual part. It's sitting in there like this. And when you use it, where it snaps off is this thin metal right here. Right there. You see how it's kind of thin? This breaks off right there, like that. This piece right here. And I wonder why Lee didn't make that a little bit thicker. Just a little bit thicker. Maybe 3 or 4 thousandths, even that much thicker, would add a lot of strength to this part. Well, not for us to question that, but for us to deal with it. So how do you deal with it? And there's 2 things we have to do. One is to prevent the event from happening. And 2 is, if it does happen, then what do you do after that? So the most critical time for this event to occur is when we just start casting and things are still a bit cold up here. And so when we start putting the first pour in there, and you got this sprue sticking up here, and somehow we let that go too long, and that sprue hardens, so that then it's very hard to cut the sprue. And it takes a lot of force. And a lot of the breaks happen right there at that very moment, early in the casting, before the sprues get really going well. Because later on, when we got everything all nice and hot, the alloy's hot, the mold's hot, it goes like music, because the sprues, once you pour the sprue, and the sprue just hardens, and then we cut it, it's like cutting butter. So it doesn't have a problem breaking off later on in the casting session. But early on, when it takes a lot of force, that's when we have to be aware of the force we're putting on this part. So YouTubers, what I recommend doing is when you're first starting to do your casting session, go ahead and dip the corner into the molten metal to get your mold block heated up. But then you've got a torch, a propane torch already running. The last thing you do, you open this up and you flame this for about anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds. Then you turn it over and you flame this side for 5 to 10 seconds. Then you close it up, make your first pour, and don't waste any time. As soon as that metal gets frosted over, as soon as it frosts over, cut the sprue. Shouldn't take much force. And then from that point on, as you go ahead and make pours, this will get easier and easier to do, and less chance of breaking this part off. Now the Lee instructions don't tell you about that, and it's too bad, because they really should. This is a fine mold, makes you lots of good bullets, but that's one of the design flaws that this mold has. Not a lot of strength there. Now the other situation is that this part can actually break anytime. And what happens with that is that you could have a part that has a manufacturing defect in here, in the way of perhaps porosity in the metal when it was manufactured. And if that happens to you and you have a part there, this is going to be doomed to break, and it can happen anytime. And this is probably what happened to STLAmmoMan, because his part broke, but it wasn't in the beginning. It was after he had already started casting a bit. So his part broke. Well, what you do there is you contact Lee and you tell them that your sprue plate handle broke at the cam and that you need them to send you out another one. You might even ask for an extra one, because this is what they'll send you. They won't send you another wooden handle, they'll send you this. You'll get a couple of them, if you ask for a couple of them. And it doesn't do any good yelling and screaming to Lee because they're actually used to this complaint. Yours won't be the first one. And they already know. They just send out more of these. So what you do is you take that bolt out, the nut, with a couple of wrenches. Put the new part in, reinstall it. And then tap off the wood handle off of your old handle and slip it onto the new one, and you're back in business. Now you might ask if this has ever happened to me, and the answer is yes, but I don't have a problem with it because I actually have molds that I've worn out and that I've relegated to using for spare parts. So I just take this out from one of those molds, install it in the one that I broke, and I was back in action. YouTubers out there, take care, and even though that's a design flaw, that doesn't stop this from being a great mold. I still love my Lee 6-cavity molds. They've made me tons of cast bullets, and I can live with this problem very nicely. It's only happened once. It shouldn't happen to you that often, but don't be surprised if it does somewhere down the road. STLAmmoMan, I'm glad that Lee took care of you, and all I can say is good casting to you. Bye for now.